Digimon Story Time Stranger is launching this week, and today I'm going to be sharing my impressions of the game after playing for more than 40 hours. Before we start, I want to thank Bandai Namco and Gamesight for providing a free copy for review purposes. Now let's start with the story first. The game opens with giving the player a choice between male or a female character. They are preset and you can't really change their appearances. You can change their costumes and stuff, but that's about it. You can name them or leave it at default. The story isn't really affected in any way by choosing male or female, so feel free to pick whoever you really like. Your character is a secret agent working for the company called Adamas, tasked in trying to stop an inter-Digimon war. I don't really want to give too much away for the story, as the game is mission-based and follows the story tightly. I'm basically just mentioning what was showcased in the public demo that acts as the opening to the game. While trying to search for clues, the protagonist gets pulled back in time and now has to time travel to stop a worldwide disaster. While going through the story, you'll meet plenty of characters, villains, and of course over 400 Digimon that can be found in the game. Now, I haven't really played many Digimon games in my lifetime. The few I did play were decades ago, and the recent ones I don't really remember. I also haven't really followed up with the anime, so I came into the game with a fresh mindset as someone who kinda knows what Digimon are, but wasn't a lore aficionado. Even with not knowing much of the game's lore, I was pretty much able to predict most of the story. It follows the usual anime tropes like friendship, teamwork, love, etc., and the usual story beats as well. So it's not a very complicated story, but it does get the game moving from one mission after the other. The game is also not very lore heavy. In fact, it takes the first several hours to set up the characters, meeting new ones, and the title card doesn't really even drop till 5 to 6 hours into the game. Most of the time you'll be going to different locales and interacting with mission related characters and solving their issues. And once in a while you'll get treated to some exposition to the backstory and the lore. It's only in the last quarter of the game where the story fleshes out, major spoilers are dropped, and things are explained a lot more. In fact, not much is known about the protagonist till way later in the game. So the point I'm trying to make is the story isn't the major reason why you should be playing the game. It's there and it's serviceable, and that's about it. Well, at least to someone who knows a little bit about Digimon. Hardcore fans might enjoy this a lot more, but I kinda doubt it. Now, moving on to gameplay, which in my opinion is the reason you want to play the game. Well, the battle system at least. It's a finely tuned turn-based system with each Digimon having unique attributes, physical and elemental weaknesses, resistances, abilities, moves, evolutions, de-evolutions, that can get you valuable early stage Digimons as well. There's quite a lot of thought and effort put towards the system, which was fun to learn and understand. In battle, you can have up to 3 Digimon fighting for you at the same time from your party of 6. During special occasions and missions, you can have extra teammates that battle alongside you. These extra teammates cannot be controlled and actually attack on their own as AI. The Digimons you control can attack, defend, and even swap between reserve members in the back line. Digimons each have their unique movesets which they learn as they level up, and can also learn extra moves which can be taught by finding moves in the game either through exploration or from shops selling them. The moves you do can actually be split into physical and magical attacks. The player also has ultimate moves which range from doing massive damage to debuffing enemies or buffing allies, and these are actually learned throughout the game as you level up. The game introduces attributes such as HP, SP, attack, defense for physical attacks, with special attack and special defense for magical attacks, and of course speed to determine how fast the Digimon goes in battle, as well as how many times it attacks in battle. While each Digimon have their preset stats when it comes to their attributes, you can boost each unique attribute by placing them in a place called Digifarm. It's like the daycare center in Pokemon games where you can leave the Digimon there with special training instructions. Real world time passes by while they train, and when you get back to them, the designated attribute ends up getting a huge spike. You can essentially create early game broken monsters and sweep most of the game in this manner, but the game is pretty easygoing and simple during the first half, so it's not really necessary, even on hard difficulty. In fact, I played most of the normal battles in auto battle and sped it up, and got through the dungeon fights, which there are tons of. Only during boss fights did I stop the auto battling, as most times the AI for auto battling is kind of poor and makes poor choices. Digimon can have physical and elemental resistances such as null type for physical resistance and ice, water, fire, etc. for elemental resistances. No one Digimon can have the same resistances. They all mix and match. Maybe they do, but it's kind of rare. They all mix and match, and usually you kind of have to figure this out with trial and error unless you played the previous games and just know what their typings and resistances are by heart. For me, I forgot pretty much most of it, so I was just going through trial and error to figure things out, which wasn't really too bad. Moving on, one of my favorite aspects of the game are the Digi-evolutions. The game removes the whole gathering Digimon by catching or taming them from the wild. I know for a fact a couple games in the series had that as a mechanic. Here, instead, you pretty much create them from data you obtain from beating these Digimon and scanning their data. Once your scans reach 100%, you can create them, but if you wait till 200% scan rate, which is the max scan rate, you can create them with better stats. This eliminates the scare of failing to capture a Digimon in battle where they might die, and you can pretty much clear an area by auto-battling and also using overworld sneak attacks to take them out instantly if you got a substantial level difference. Once you create these new monsters, you can add up to 6 to your party, who will then level up after each battle, but the rest that are in your box actually also get to slowly level up. So all monsters do tend to level up as you progress the game. This is a nice feature as you can easily swap between Digimon whenever you want and try a variety of them in battle. Once the Digimon reach high enough levels, and if their attributes reach desired levels, you can Digi-evolve them into stronger ones. Of course, each time you Digi-evolve, the new Mon is actually set to level 1, but now it's much stronger, has new movesets, and has increased strength. You can also de-evolve them back into a previous Mon and choose to evolve them into a different path. It's really fun to experiment here, and I spent several hours just evolving into different monsters. While the evolution mechanic is fun, there is an issue with not being able to capture the Mons in this game. Boss-type Digimon you face cannot be created till late game, which require meticulous training in the Digifarm to raise stats, and also your player level, which is called the agent level. That needs to also be a minimum level. So you're pretty much gatekept from getting really strong boss-type Mons this way until late game. In other games, if you had the skill, you could capture late game Mons that aren't really story locked early on. Here, that entire aspect is missing, which I feel is a bit disappointing. Other than battling, most of the time you'll be just going from point A to point B, getting new dialogue or cutscenes, doing a delivery quest, a fetch quest, and my favorite, boss battles. Unlike normal fights, boss battles have unique mechanics to each boss. One may have barriers for physical and magical immunity, or a certain boss may have, a charging special move that needs to be broken out of. Some bosses have environmental hazards like lightning, or even reinforcements in the form of lesser Digimon that enhance the boss attributes and abilities. These boss fights do tend to be grand in scale and really fun. In fact, I wanted more boss battles throughout the game. Lastly, the game does have side missions, which usually fall in a couple categories such as delivery quests, fetch quests, finding NPCs to talk to, and more side bosses, which are usually normal Digimon with supersized boss health pools. Not too interesting, and none of the side missions are voiced as well. Overall, the gameplay is still fun and engaging, even though some may consider it to be on the simpler side. Once you figure out the typings and how certain mechanics work, you can easily breeze through the game, or use the auto battling feature, which does it with speed. I enjoy the gameplay. Collecting different Digimon, leveling them up, evolving them, and also fighting different bosses gave me a sort of addiction that I usually get with these monster collecting games, which to me is a good sign, and I'm sure many will find those aspects of the game enjoyable. I did have one major issue with the game: backtracking. There is a ton of backtracking from one area to another. There are shortcuts you can take in the maps, but there is no fast travel feature, which is insane, as sometimes you'll have to backtrack to do deliveries or fetch quests from one end of the map to a whole new map, and then to the end of that map. A simple fast travel would have been a nice feature to add and would have resulted in less frustration overall. Things are made worse where side missions can only be tracked one at a time. You will essentially travel to two different zones to collect or fetch, fetch an item or beat a monster, only to travel back those two zones to the quest giver's area and finish that quest. And the next side quest, you basically have to travel back to those same two zones away, really far, and do a different objective. If you could actually track multiple objectives, you could knock out the checklist one after the other. It's just archaic game design that shouldn't exist in 2025. I'm just really hoping they had some of these features post-game launch. In terms of performance, I played the game on PC. I usually ask for PS5 review codes, but this time I went with PC as console versions of the game run at 30 FPS. Even on the PS5 Pro. That's just a disgrace in my opinion, and I don't get what they were doing with the console versions. The PC version works fine. I stuck with 60 FPS, which, made me really happy. I'm really happy when the game runs fully at 60 FPS and I can play throughout it. With this game, I played it on max settings throughout and had really no issues, no crashes, no bugs, nothing really. It worked perfectly fine. When it comes to visuals, the game is serviceable, but it's an average looking anime game. While some of the Digimon and character models look good, there's some poor textures about and some animations that are very stiff and weird looking. The game doesn't look bad by any means, but it looks like a late PS3 game. There are anime games with way better visuals nowadays, and many free-to-play games, even including gacha games, that have incredible visuals, animations, character models, etc, etc. I just feel like the game could use a bit more in this day and age. Audio is decent as well. I played the English dub and the English cast is pretty decent. I do have issues with the voiceovers though. The game just randomly switches between voice dialogue and non-voice dialogue during story segments. It's just jarring in my opinion and feels inconsistent. One cutscene, you'll get a nice scene playing out with characters talking, and then it fades to black for a second, and the scene comes back, and everybody is quiet, and you basically have to read through the entire dialogue. This happens throughout the game, and it's really disappointing in that aspect. If you want to get engaged in the story, you basically get sucker punch out of it like the next second. The music, sound design, and sound effects are serviceable for the most part and gets the job done. Overall, performance is decent, visuals are average, and audio is also average in that aspect. The game could have really used more production quality. Lastly, in terms of replayability, if you go straight for the story, it can take anywhere from 25 plus hours. And of course, there's plenty of side missions and extra contests such as card battles, collections, filling the Digimon entries, collectibles, exploration, yada yada yada. There's a lot to do. It can easily be over 45 hours and even more. I played for over 40 hours and I still got plenty to do. I do play a bit slower than most people as I tend to get engrossed in certain aspects of the game, but it isn't a bad thing. People are going to get plenty of playtime with this game. Overall, Digimon Story Time Stranger is a pretty fun and solid game. Fans will enjoy the monster collecting and battling, but with a predictable, cliched, and anime tropey story, along with some questionable design choices and average production quality, the game does go down a couple points. It's not a bad game, it's just an above average game. I give it a 7 out of 10. While I did enjoy certain aspects of the game, as a whole the game could have been so much better. If you're a huge Digimon fan, you'll enjoy the game as there's plenty to do. But for the common gamers, if you're not big into monster collecting and turn-based battling, there's not much else to offer on top of that. Unless you really like the card game within this game. I'm a monster collecting fan, so I'll keep playing until I gather them all. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed my impressions of the game. Leave any questions in the comments and I'll try to reply to them. Thanks for watching and see you guys next time. Take care.